So, for the Canonical Poetry Revised project, I'm starting with Emily Dickinson's A Narrow Fellow in the Grass, and I'm looking at it through the lens of outward vulgarity, canonical versus modern poetry. So, Emily Dickinson's poem, A Narrow Fellow in the Grass, really stood out to me. It's one of my favorites because for so long, everyone believed it was about a snake, that it was like a nature poem, and that, yeah, she was totally talking about a snake. But lately, it's come to light that maybe she wasn't talking about a snake. It could have been a secret lover in the woods. Some lines that lead us to believe this through like layered metaphors and figurative language are, to begin with, the title, A Narrow Fellow in the Grass. This may pertain to a certain male appendage. Many analysts have looked at this and thought that at the time, Dickinson couldn't have released a poem or published a poem that had anything of the sort in it. So she may have layered metaphors on top of each other and made it look like she was innocently talking about a snake or nature so that she could get her point across without having it be so obvious. So it's not outwardly obvious like many of the modern poems are today. More lines that kind of convey this message or this idea are occasionally rides in the first stanza. A spotted shaft is seen, it wrinkled and was gone. Obviously, neither perception can be confirmed or denied because we don't have her here to tell us. But I tend to lean towards this idea more. Typically just because I like it better. It makes it more interesting. And I like that Emily Dickinson was a rebel and wanted to go against the norms of poetry at the time. So at the time, no publisher would ever let a woman print that at the time, or any person print that at the time. So she hid it behind a metaphor for a snake, and I like to think of it that way. Obviously not outwardly bold, not outwardly vulgar by any means, but I'm going to compare it to modern poetry and how it's changed since then. So I'm comparing this to Fatima Asghar. I'm trying really hard to pronounce that name. And the poem Pluto Shits on the Universe because it was my favorite so far. So the tone of this poem is just a confident, unapologetic woman voicing Pluto's thoughts. It's Pluto personified. And it is very outwardly vulgar or outwardly bold. It starts off with, "Today I broke your solar system. Oops, my bad." Not actually apologizing. And it sets the tone for, this isn't going to be a light-hearted, whimsical poem. It's going to be bold. It's going to be confident. More lines that show the outward vulgarity are thinking about rings and how Jupiter should just pussy on up and marry me by now. I love that line because it goes to show how far literature has progressed since then. Neither is better or worse, but we have incorporated slang and we have incorporated boldness into literature that couldn't have been used any time before this. It was unheard of for a woman to be publishing anything slightly vulgar at all. And today, you can pretty much publish whatever you want. Poetry is a space where you can put down your thoughts and typically not be ridiculed for it. So both poems have the same tone of they're trying to convey the same message of something kind of, I don't want to say taboo, but more out there. But one just has to hide it behind layered metaphors, and you have to unpack it more. Neither, like I said, neither is better or worse. It just goes to show how literature has progressed from one to the other. And I really enjoyed studying that.